It used to be such a risky venture. Every time you getting out with your camera, unajua most likely unaweza lala ndani for no reason.
Wow.
But unajiamini tu na unaendelea.
Yeah.
That Choco shows like I told him, nilipatia akasema hii ukitaka 5k. Nikamwambia memory card data hiyo memory card data ni ya $5. Akasema alikuwa mjanja. Akasema it's not about the card. It's about the memories. How can I call this person poorer than me and he wakes up to the view of the lake every day?
When you wake up to your neighbor's windows.
You wake up to your neighbor's windows.
Mango ziko hapo.
I think one of the best places in life for me, I feel, is the place where you don't know everything.
Yeah.
And you're just open to just learn things. Even in my worst.
Yeah.
Even when, I lose my trust in God. Like I don't lose the awe of his existence because I've seen too much that makes too much sense.
Yeah.
Like the math so hard, I cannot go against it.
Yeah. Giuliani goes on stage.
Yeah.
And then there's this Gen Zs who are there. They're like, oh man, who's this artist? Man, is he a new artist? So many vijana.
Muongeze pia bidii.
Kitu ungesikiza hii ngoma ungekuwa different. Mwisho wa kusoma utapata kazi nzuri sana. Yeah, when we do the gigs at the basketball court.
Those ones, the basketball court.
Man.
Because in the middle of everywhere.
Yes, bana. And then guys, and
the music is good.
Then guys will be like, what the heck is going on in our basketball court? Also unaanza kuchungulia kutoka kwa dirisha from their rooms.
Kwanza that was the best thing. Mtu anaweza kuwa kwa bash kama ako tu kwa room yake.
Ndio hiyo sasa.
Kama hataki kuonekana, anafraternise with the Christians.
Yeah.
Anakaa tu hapo kwa balcony, anajienjoy lakini hataki kukama hapo chini.
Hataki kuonekana. Man, sorry, I can't laugh. Don't make me laugh.
I'm sorry, this will be a tough episode.
Wait. So,
huo mzee alikuweka kumbo.
I don't even know what happened. Nakumbuka, so jana nikicheza ball, nilitegwa na mguu ya msee. Alafu nikienda kuanguka nikakutana either na magoti or the thigh. Bro, I know I had like a crack somewhere, man.
Guy.
So lakini when you're playing football, the adrenaline is there. You don't even feel it. You continue.
You only feel it ukishawa jioni uko like,
let me tell you, suddenly game iliisha. Actually, I left like 5 minutes before the game ended. I was like, guys, I can't. Now the pain became intense. Now I was like, this is something is not right somewhere here.
Yeah.
So nikatoka, man. As I was driving out of the field on my way home, I felt like sneezing. The pain I felt.
After only sneeze sasa. Unajua vile mtu ukaza.
Even now laughing, yani.
Hey.
I felt some other pain. I was like, I called my wife immediately. I'm like, babe, I'm not coming home. Nenda hospitali.
Halafu, but there's no fracture.
There's no fracture. In fact, when I go to the hospital, I was like, and the doc was like, what has happened? I was like, I think I broke my ribs.
Yeah.
Akaniangalia vile natembea.
Akaona
hii jinga wewe. Tumevunja kwa
mtu amebreak rib atembeangi hivi.
Atembeangi hivi natembea. Alafu you even making fun of yourself.
Yeah.
So they give me some heavy painkillers, So but when I got home, and of course my wife now laughs at me, but she's like, I keep telling you're old. Stop playing football with these 20-year-olds.
Unacheza na mayangi na una go intense kama wao.
So there's this series we're watching, and it's called All Rise. It's a nice series. It's about an African American lady. She becomes a judge in the courts in LA, which is a big deal, So I like it. And so the lady is pregnant.
Yeah.
So at some point, jana maze, thanks Waine. So at some point, maze, jana kwa hiyo series kiendelea, tukipause, because I feel pressure to go to the toilet. Man, the lady is pregnant, anajishikilia hivi.
Wewe pia.
Mimi pia nikitaka kumove.
Ikakwenda mjamzito hakuna difference sasa.
Okay, man, kwa naambia my devs, I'm like, I think I know how it feels to be pregnant.
Lazima alikuchapa kofi.
Of course.
Akisema, please do not try to compare.
It does not go together, man.
Kwanza unajua vile mademo hawapendi hiyo comparison hata kidogo, anasema excuse me, our pain is ours.
Yeah. Hey bro, let me tell you, so my wife akiniambia about pregnancy, alikuwa ananiambia, Mose, if you want to understand what I'm going through, if you want to understand childbirth, you think about a watermelon coming out of your diab. That's the only thing I can be able to equate it for you, man.
Wow. And you're intense.
That's the only way you can understand what giving birth is like.
What? No, that's crazy. Yo.
Yeah, man. But dude, thanks for coming on the podcast today, man.
Thanks for having me.
It's such a pleasure.
Should be interesting.
Nah, this one has no... I just love having conversations, man.
Yeah.
And the good thing is, you and I are not strangers.
Yeah.
God has allowed us to be boys for a long time.
Yeah.
We've done life together when we were young.
Oh, yeah. From back... No, it's probably like 20 years now.
Yeah.
I think. Probably more, actually.
Yes.
Because niliingia kampo nikiwa... I think nilikumit nikiwa kampo. Na niliingia kampo 2001 or 2.
Yeah. I didn't meet you long after that.
And then probably, so around 20 years. We might have met in my second or third year because I was already in music by second, third year.
Yeah.
So maybe around then.
You know the person who told me about you, because at that time you were in a group called 501.
Yeah.
Was Edda.
Oh, yeah. Edda and I have not, it's been years. I've not seen her in years.
And she's not even in the country now.
Yeah.
So you guys had gone for a competition.
Yes.
I don't know if it was sponsored by Safaricom.
Yes, it was Safaricom Star Search.
Yes. Oh, man.
Kama unaikumbuka Star Search, I think that was 2002 or 3 Star Search.
Yeah. That's the one.
Yeah.
It was like at the end of the year, see you. And then Edda was like, Mose, you need to meet with these guys there in my... Because she was also in JQuad.
Edda was like our school mom.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you see how small she is.
Yeah.
And then she's like your school mom.
That's how Kali moms are. They're always tiny, lakini huwezi wachezea.
Yeah, they say, yeah.
Because I think she was in third year maybe when we were in first year.
Yeah.
And kinda took us, a few of us.
Yeah.
So tulikuwa, anatupatia guidance. Vitu kama hizo. So she really took care of us.
She did.
Yeah.
She's the one who told me about you guys. She's like, Mose, you need to meet these guys called 501.
Yeah.
Then JQuad, they're in this thing for Safaricom, Star Search. I do remember it was a competition, but I just couldn't remember what it was. And then we met the following year. And we started doing missions together.
Yes. Yeah, those were such different times.
They were, man. They were, because those were... Most what you probably don't even realize is you guys were there at the very formative stages of when the urban gospel music culture was being established. Because we didn't have... At that time, I don't even think we had a boy band. I don't think nilikuwa nimekutana na gospel fathers.
No, because even gospel fathers walikuwa wameanza.
Man.
The only... What groups were there even before that? Like most groups that were there were singing groups.
Yeah.
Because I think people like now Kina Votaries were there.
Yeah, but they were also...
But
they were in high school,
maybe
I think. Yeah.
I think they were in high school. Because I know me and the Votaries guys were in high school like in the same period. Like in the same... There was an overlap of maybe 1 or 2 years.
Yeah.
But even them, I came to see them later. Now meeting outside in the mission circles.
Yeah.
Vitu kama hizo. But that was afterward.
But
after a few years.
Yeah.
But some, like Sisi, if you remember, Gibson and me were in the same high school.
You were both in MFA?
Yeah. And we were in a singing group together, then a cappella.
Allah.
So we used to do a cappella. Gibson me studied music.
What?
Yeah. Gibi me studied music. He was like fully in it. Me, I studied fine art.
Yeah.
But then, by I think 4th year, when we were both in 4th form, tukakuwa in this music group. So mi nilikuwa naenda kuimba a cappella.
Yeah.
And it was a good group. Most of them were music guys. But except me and maybe a few other people.
Yeah.
So now when we met then Gibson, naingia kampo, I get to my room. I see Gibi is my roommate.
Don't make me laugh.
And not only that, let me tell you the trickier thing.
Yeah.
Gibi is my roommate.
Yeah.
So I'm like, how? Like, I don't
what
even know.
What are the chances?
First, because first tulikuwa tumemeet kwa line ya registration ya JKUAT. I was like, Gibi even knew JKUAT, tukajua yes. Nice, that is... No, actually, Gibi was not my roommate, but tulimit kwa line ya registration. So because tulijuana, and another MFA guy who not in music, so tulikuwa watatu tu tuna hang out. So vile mi nilipewa room, tulikuwa sisi wote kwa room yangu. Then now tunafika kwa room yangu pamoja, tunapata Kevo. Now Kevo, I didn't know him, alikuwa primo same na Gibi. Wote walikuwa Air Force boys. Their parents were in the Air Force. So wote walikuwa basically MFA, but
the primary
air base now. The primo. So wanajuana. Then mi na Gibi tulikuwa high school pamoja. So like there was already a connect.
And then how did Wale come into the picture?
Sasa Wale alikuwa na study architecture. He was in second year while I was in first year.
Okay.
Kevo and I tulikuwa architecture. So of course, watu wa architecture tunakuanga in the same building. Tulijuani hapo. But before Wale come, I already knew mimi na Gibi, we were singing. Kevo akaonesha ako interested. So kusema, so we could do something while we are here. Now that we are here together, let's just do something, but more in a cappella, vitu kama hizo. Then Wole was a ragamuffin guy. Used to be the guy alafanya likes raga. So ndio alituintroduce to Papa San, kina Stitchy. So so we used to just hang out. He was a solo artist, like he was doing his own music, but raga, stuff like that. But now because of, when we decided to do Star Search, we said, just so that we make it interesting, because this is Star Search, hatuwezi enda na acapella. Let's play to our strengths. Let's find a way to do music that has some punch. We went to RK. We said RK has good tracks, so let's go, let's make a track with him. Hiyo track ilikuwa 3K, tulilipa mpaka na coins. Hatukuwa na doza kurudi home. Yani tulisema okay, weka kwanza fare ya kwenda home ni 50 bob 50 ya kwenda JKUAT. We put aside, tuka make sure kila mtu huwa 4. Tuko na 50 bob yote, so 2. Then tukasema okay, sasa everything else we have,
leave it at the studio.
Because we thought we'd give him a deposit and then we come for the full amount when the track is ready.
Akawambia,
alimalizia track hapo na akasema leteni hiyo 3K yote sahi.
Arkeli anachapa imeiva.
But ikishaiva hii kitu hakuna next time. I was like, sasa mazee ikabidi tutafute do zote tukampatia.
Na hizo siku hakuna M-Pesa. So ni cash hapo.
Oh man. So now for that Star Search track we said let's pull in all of our strengths, make sure we have a cappella in it. We make sure that on stage we have like presence, so like a dance thing. We make sure iko na the thumping beats from RK, so it's, and then something singable in the chorus, but then also let's switch it up, add some a ragamuffin component to it, so that it's unpredictable. So tukasema si tukolabo na Wole for this Star Search song. So for about a whole year of that process tulikuwa tuna practice pamoja, all of this. So by the time it was over, we were like, just be part of 5-1. It's like we've done a whole year where we've done so much together. Practice, writing music, doing this competition, and then when you do competitions you get closer, praying, all of those things, we were doing them together. So just said, just join the group. And we had Jackie, who was now our classmate in architecture, who was a really good singer.
I remember her from the album that you guys released.
So we're now 5 as 5-1. And the room we met in now, we used to practice, is that whole 5-room-1. That's why we said, let's not even complicate it. Our name is going to be 5-1.
You guys are so creative.
Or like, let's not try and make this too deep. Let's just go. Tutatafuta depth baadaye.
I was about to ask you kule mlitoa jina 501.
Depth tulisema, depth tutatafuta baadaye. Unajua hata sometimes in architecture una design nyingi, unajua wanataka ukuwe na concept of your design. But sometimes uko tu na idea vile unataka kitu ikae visually. You don't know anything much. You're not thinking I need it to be deep, inspired by this, but you just know I just want to design something that looks like this, that is blue on this side. So una design kwanza, alafu unakaa ukiangalia unasema sasa concept nitaweka concept gani? You touch the meaning later. So that's what we did with this one. We're like, we'll find meaning. We'll find memory verse to attach to hapo.
Because that's what we do.
Many times, sometimes to go like, we need it to be deep. It was inspired by this. So tukapatia as we said, let's not even say it was inspired by any memory verse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I like, you know what I do like about you guys is that you guys were young, you were hip, but you're so solid in your faith, and then you're all tight as boys. And I think like till to date,
Yeah.
you guys are still
Yeah, we still hang out a lot.
Mhm.
The person we don't see too much ni Gibi.
Mhm.
Just because our worlds, the thing about growing up, unajua worlds zina shift kiasi.
Yeah.
Gibi na Alcrons, and then me and Kebo were neighbors for a long time. So it was
Yeah.
easier for us to just see each other.
Mhm.
Gibi and Wole have always lived far. Hao wanapenda kuishi mbali na Nairobi.
Yeah.
Wanapenda kuishi
Alafu
huko
na
tu
job
na-
yake pia most likely.
Alafu job yake ni different from us.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Sorry, man.
But
It's okay.
now, fortunately,
Mhm.
like me, Kevo and Wole are in the same life group.
Yeah.
So at least we see each other every month.
Yes.
And we talk a lot on WhatsApp.
That's
so
what's up, man.
either way, kuna close contact.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
So the guys who are listening to this podcast wanashindwa, man. Mutua
Ni
is
nani?
yeah. Wakitaka kujua Studio 501 is separate sasa.
Yeah,
That's
so-
another whole other
It's a
conversation,
whole
man.
other thing.
Yeah, but for us it was our point of connection.
Yeah.
And so there you're doing architecture, but then wasiwaki kuangalia saizi, you're doing something that's
Totally different.
totally different,
Or
but
rather seems totally different.
it seems, yeah.
Yeah.
Because probably there's a way you're able to merge the two together.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering, how did you, because you've not really pursued architecture.
Not actively.
Yeah. Have you actually, in fact, maybe I should ask you, have you
Yeah,
pursued
I did
architecture?
about 2 years.
Mhm.
Employed maybe two and something
Yeah.
where I was employed.
Mhm.
Because the thing is, as I was graduating
Yeah.
or going to my final year
Yeah.
is where I discovered photography.
Mhm.
Um, yeah.
Can I remind you of this?
Uh-huh.
Remember when you went to Germany?
Yes. That's actually, that's like, I feel like that trip opened up so much
Yeah.
possibility
Mhm.
mentally, which is like, it's, I think just having a different, moving yourself away from your circle,
Yeah.
the thing that you know every day,
Mhm.
changes the way you see the world, the way you see yourself.
Yes.
Like you see possibilities
Mhm.
that show you so much more is achievable than what you imagined.
Yeah.
It's like you remove the glass ceiling that you always had for your life.
Mhm.
Then suddenly the trajectory is now like, oh, you mean I can also do that?
Yeah.
And I can also do that.
Mhm.
And you find that these people are just like me.
Mhm.
I guess there's no difference. So for
Yeah.
me, that trip was like eye-opening in so many ways. I think the person I am now is fully because of that trip.
Mhm. It
It's
opened
just-
you up.
Yeah, it's just because it was my first time out of the country.
Mhm.
And it was late in life. Like I was maybe 23
Mhm.
or 24. I can't remember.
That's late in life.
Yeah, I feel like,
Wow. My producer here just said, my man, I guess I'm time back.
I feel, well, I don't know. I feel like the circles that I'm in,
Uh-huh.
some people wanakuanga washaenda somewhere.
Yeah.
For sure, I don't intend for my children to travel for their first time in their 20s.
Yes.
I'm going to make sure that they leave this country earlier,
Yeah, that's really good, man.
just to see people, hata kama, not necessarily Europe or wherever, just
Mhm.
even Uganda, Rwanda, just see how other Africans are living,
Yeah.
Malawi, just to see either for one, to understand their privilege,
Mhm.
or number two, to understand, for both things, to understand that they're not the worst,
Mhm.
but to also understand they're not the best.
Yeah.
That there's always someone better than you and there's always someone worse than you.
Mhm.
I think that does something to you
Yeah.
in where it positions yourself. You just learn to trust yourself or
Mhm.
trust that there are many other opportunities or many ways, many paths that your life can take.
Yeah.
And so for me, that was one of the ways. Like I didn't know. And then my internship was in a school.
Mhm.
And in that school, it was a school of interior architecture. And in that school, the students...
Is this in Germany now?
Yeah, in Germany.
Mhm.
The students were moving so differently from how I felt being a student was in Kenya.
Wow. Do they have
Like-
more freedom?
They had a lot more freedom, but also the thing for me that was most impressive is how real life work
Mhm.
outside school contributed to their points in school.
Mhm.
So the thing that you could do, like there's one of my neighbors, her final project was designing for a theater company.
Mhm.
So designing their stage. And for their C to paint backdrop is like to design that stage effectively. Those stages are those plays, the way they do them.
Yeah.
It's like you have to listen to the one who wrote the play, talk to them, have their brief of what they imagine the stage should be. Then you also put your input of making sure that the stage itself has themes that are also themes of the play.
Yeah.
So if the play is about deception and stuff like that, you have to find a way to also show that so that the audience discovers something not just in the play itself, but also in the setting.
Wow.
They keep discovering something, and that takes some intelligence.
Yeah.
So the thing is, she could do that and involve her professor with that project and say, I have this project, find a way to satisfy the play company and also her grades. And to do that is a very fine balance of taking what is academic and combine it with real life experience.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I don't see how this is possible where I'm from.
In fact, as you're talking, I was just thinking about our set designs here.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man.
So I'm like, how? And that's someone who is in undergrad.
Yeah.
Doing real life work. Another one was doing, was one of those ones that come to Africa, they help build things. So he could come and they were building some sustainable housing with mud and stuff like that, just finding a way to utilize, because already brick design and stuff like that is very prevalent in Southern Africa.
Yeah.
They're doing this in Zim or Zambia. So finding a way to include like modern design, but with matope and that brick. And then design for them. So he could do that, take pictures, keep the notes, and use that for his schoolwork and make points for his schoolwork.
Wow.
So things like these show you different possibilities. Things like being able to go and visit buildings that I was studying for my thesis.
Yeah.
So see buildings by architects that I was writing about for my thesis.
Yeah.
And then I go into their buildings. For someone coming from Kenya, this is not a normal thing.
No.
If you're European, maybe it's normal. But for me, it's not like entering a building where I'm looking at it and I'm like, I was studying this architect. I wasn't studying this building, but now I can see how it translates in real life.
Yeah.
Then on top of that, I met some students who are studying graphic design and saw what they were doing, like understood how seriously any artistic venture is taken there. Because they were telling me how they can't afford, that they have to paint their own houses themselves because they can't afford a professional painter. I'm like, what do you mean? Kwani painter ni pesa ngapi? They're like,
Nairobi.
Exactly. And then I'm telling me for them here to get a painter and to see a doctor is like the same. Because there, as long as you're a professional, you're considered a professional and your rates are professional.
Wow.
It's not akuna like different levels. A doctor is a professional just like a plumber is a professional.
Yeah.
And so if you need professional plumbing work done, there are rates that will not see to unblock thing. So even the way the professional painter will deal with it with your house is such that when the painter leaves, that house can stay in that with that paint. It won't need repainting.
Yeah.
Like you'll have done the proper layers, proper. You know, like sometimes you go to a house and you can just see where the thing went off, where the brush went. Lakini ikaachwa hivyo.
Yeah.
So like with this person, there won't be anything like that.
Yeah.
And so I got to appreciate that level of professionalism and got to see, okay, this creative thing is a proper industry. If you're in a place where it's regulated, then it's a proper industry.
Yeah.
It's only that way here because it serves some people for it to not be regulated like that.
Which is very unfortunate.
Very unfortunate.
Very unfortunate.
Considering everybody needs creativity, even people who feel like they don't need it. If you tell them to take away any creative aspect from their life, their lives will be left bare.
Yeah.
With nothing. But then they don't value it because they see it different from what they do. It's like people value the thing that they feel, me, I do this, so this is valuable. Or because it's not theirs. And so I think when you see value in things, which the problem with value is hard to show value to someone who refuses to see it. So things like this for me made such a difference, such that by the time I came back, finished my thesis, I already knew there's so many ways to be an architect now, or so many ways to be inspired by what I've learned. And I realized what I really love, and I've always known, like what I loved about architecture, especially the study of architecture, was that architecture is a creative practice. It's not that it's necessarily the buildings, but it's the creative pursuit that is in architecture. I saw that as an excellent creative pursuit.
Yeah.
So when there was an option to pursue something else creatively and excellently and make a living from it, it wasn't weird for me to shift.
Yes.
It was like, this is another creative, excellent pursuit.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yes.
So the switch was not too complicated for me. The most complicated part was probably the people's perception.
In fact, I was going to ask you, I will tell you my reaction, because I remember when you told me what you wanted to do. But how did your mom take it now? Because...
Yeah. Sheesh. You know, like my mom, the one thing about my mom, as much as she was traditional, is how my mom has always been, like she has always encouraged my artistry, even though she never encouraged it as a career. Like I think for her, probably her generation, because she was an artist also, but not a career artist. Like she was an artist in high school, and I only got to see some of the stuff she made in high school when I was in high school.
Oh, wow.
I was like, Mom, you did these things. She's like, yeah, you think you're the first artist in this family. I'm like, you've never told me. You've always encouraged the art, but I thought that was just you valuing it.
Yeah.
But even her, she used to encourage it as like she believed in talents. Like her, she was a big proponent of talent and career. Like the two don't have to be the same.
Yeah.
But a person has to have talents. And you have to work at your talent.
Yeah.
And you have to have your career. And you work at your career. So even when I was in architecture, she always told me, have you been drawing? Have you been painting? And I'm like, I don't have time. She's like, those are God-given talents. You should never waste them.
Wow.
You must always find time to draw. You must always find time to paint. I'm like, but I'm focusing on architecture now. She's like, yeah, but that's your career. You will always have that.
Yeah.
It's important for you to not
ignore
or forget about this. And this, they will go. Just because their talents doesn't mean they won't go. So she always was like, practice this, practice this. So now this was the first time that I was like, I want to convert the talent into a business. And she was like, okay, have you thought about the business part of it? I was like, yeah, I think it will be okay because I've been working and I've been making some money. So like, okay, as long as you're making a living, me, I'm okay with it.
Wow.
So she was like, as long as you're making a living, everything else didn't really matter. It didn't matter. The perception didn't matter to her.
Yeah.
She always loved to say, he's an architect and now he does photography and it's working. And I think she saw it working, so she didn't.
Wow.
For her, it would rather do that and have it work than be a lawyer or a doctor who does not make money.
Yes.
But have prestige.
Yeah. I remember, that's very interesting about your mom. Now, when you told me about this, it was just after the Bible study.
Yeah.
We used to meet at Mamlaka on the Tuesday. And he told me that, so he'd come back from Germany. Kwanza ulikuja na Adidas zingine. Ulikuja kutusumbua kaka.
Nilienda ikabidi una upgrade kidogo maisha.
Bro, you're the home of Adidas kwanza.
I know.
So I remember when you told me what you wanted to do, you're like, yeah, I'm thinking of pursuing photography. And I was like, what kind of photography? And you told me, is it, what do you call it? Is it building?
Yeah,
architectural photographs. Yeah. And I was like, man, Moots, in my head I was thinking, man, umeenda chuo hizi miaka zote.
It feels like a waste.
Hey, I was like, man, where's the chapa chuo for architecture all this time? Alafu se unaenda kupiga picha building.
Yeah. I know, by the way, in fact, and many people still ask me Ivo.
Yeah.
But I think now I understand, and it took me some time, took me maybe 6-7 years of photography to understand that this is only a problem if you only view education as linear.
Which is what
most of us
we are taught.
Yeah. It's like education is linear. You do this, even life, like we view life as linear. You are supposed to do this by this time. You do your university degree by this time.
Do you remember that song that always used to be played for us every morning?
Yeah.
So many vijana.
Muongeze pia bidii.
Kitu ungesikiza hii ngoma ungekuwa different. Mwisho wa kusoma utapata kazi nzuri sana.
Can you imagine you used to hear this song every day?
Every morning. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think seeing life as just linear,
Yeah.
like you do this so that you do this, and then you do that so that you do this, and so you do that. So I think our lives have just been reduced to this linear path.
Yeah.
That we are just machines for productivity and not as humans who are supposed to live a full, whole life.
That's good.
That is satisfying.
That's good.
And fulfilling in very many ways.
Yeah.
Creatively, spiritually, physically.
Yeah.
With your friendships. Like, I think life has so much more. And most of us now, we are living a disservice of what we deserve because hatuna time ya friends, hatuna time hata ya our own families. We're always working, always on this
let's go, yeah,
always
let's call it the grind.
Yeah, this circle thing tunakimbiza tu yani. Always just running nani kuchase moshi tu because hawezi ishika really. Always chasing. And as long as you're always chasing, there's no time to enjoy anything. And it's hard to break to that because you have to sacrifice income, you have to sacrifice what you thought your life should be.
Yeah.
The millions you thought you should have made by 30, the house that you thought you should have by 35.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to sacrifice it for more fulfillment. And now I think I realize that more than ever. And I realize, see linear, because I feel now, in fact, ukiniuliza, like if someone, so many young people ask me, they say, I'm in school, I'm studying architecture, but because I'm really interested in photography, I feel like I want to quit. And I tell them, please don't. Because, not just because the traditional idea of get a degree for safety. No. Like I've found architecture has been so useful for my creative journey, for my photography, that I understand fully that it was not a mistake that I studied architecture.
Yeah, because you're able to, when you're taking a photo, you're not just taking it like I would as a layman.
Yeah.
You have a better understanding.
So much more. And not only that, there is so much in architecture that you learn about. Like if it's specifically in photography, you learn so much about composition, about how to compose things, how to place things. Those are all elements of architecture, but they're also elements of painting. They're also elements of photography. They're elements of any form of creativity. In architecture, we also learn teamwork. Because you can't just exist as an architect. You have to have engineers around you. You have to have electrical engineers, civil engineers, building constructor. You have to have all this team that make it happen for you to succeed. And so now in my photography, I'm starting to see how all these teams, it's like as an architect, you have to be a good manager. And now to make really good photography projects, you also have to be a good manager. Of other teams around you. There is the business side of creativity that you learn about in architecture that you will apply in whatever creative pursuit. I always feel like for architecture, the biggest thing is probably long suffering because those 6 years are not easy. And if you can do that, you can hold on when the times are hard for these other things that you do. Because if photography was easier, if it was easier, so many more people will be in it. But it's not necessarily easier. Like sometimes it's so hard that you have to remind yourself that you have to remind yourself, I'm in the right place. This is what I was born for.
Yeah.
This is my thing. And then that passion gets you through the tough parts because it's not always going to be easy. There are times where it will be flowing. And there are times where you have to grind and fight against everything to keep getting up and creating.
Yeah.
Not only that, for me, one of the most important lessons that is a very specifically architecture lesson is in architecture, we learned to see, like in architecture, you design and see everything to the end from the beginning.
Wow.
Like architecture is probably the only aspect of design where before you break ground,
you've seen
you know everything.
Yeah.
You even know the effects. You even calculated the effects of your building over the next 10 years.
Wow.
5 years. Like you have to know that because if you don't, that will be poor architecture. You have to put that building there, see, okay, if this building is in this place, how does that affect the road system here?
Yeah.
How does that cause more traffic? If the cars are projected to increase over the next 5 years, what is the government planning to do with this road here? If so, how can we include what the government is planning, like in 5 years, that this road will be expanded?
Yeah.
How can we put that in our plan so that we're not caught pants down at that time?
Wow.
Think how many people, like the neighborhood around, projection your growth. So which means you have to look at the past and see how it has been increasing, like the population of the place.
Yeah.
And how you project it to increase in the next 10 years. And how can your building, because you can't just, our buildings don't just exist in space, in nothing. They exist within context.
Yeah.
And context is everything. So you have to put it in the context, and you can't escape your context however hard you try.
Yeah.
And sometimes you see many people do that in so many designs.
Bro, yeah, I was going to ask you, man, when you drive in some of our neighborhoods, you're like, hey, kuna architecture look hapa kweli.
That's what happens when you ignore that's design.
Yeah.
Because now that's the part that people ignore. The design is not just the building. By the time you see the building up, good architecture will have considered so many things.
Yeah, the environmental impact.
Yeah, exactly. You have to think where you put in that thing. You have to see what trees are around there. If you cut this tree for that, what does that mean for the birds that live there? Is it a species that will now have nowhere else to go or have to move sijui where?
Yeah.
If there's a water body nearby, like you have to think about so much that is not just, let's put this building here.
Yeah.
How cool will this building look here? And if you do good design well, you know the impact of what that building will have. 5, 10, 30, 40, 50 years from now, you should know.
Yes.
And so that has affected my photography also, because I think about my work the same way. The projects I do, I think about them 50 years from now. Like I want some of these projects to still be teaching people about things that I went through about this time. And so it makes some things become small in comparison. Like some things I can overlook some things or some hardships for that.
Yeah.
Because I know in 5 years, will this hardship really matter?
Yeah.
Like this thing that is so hard for me to shoot this thing that I want to shoot. Can I push through it?
Yeah.
Because I won't remember this pain in 5 years, but the project will be existing.
Yes.
And it will be so much bigger than that little discomfort.
And bro, just listening to you, I'm so blown away because first I'm hearing you talk, I'm like, this guy could be lecturing in the university right now about, to architectural students, which you can.
Yes.
But then the other thing is, now in hindsight, that time when you were sharing with me about what you wanted to do, and then you started walking in that direction, and you started sharing your photos.
Yeah.
As in, I guess maybe because it's not in my field.
Yeah.
Like what you started sharing with the nation became such a big deal.
Yeah.
That now when people are thinking about wallpapers for their computers those days,
they
were using your photos.
Yeah.
When people want to show the skyline of Nairobi, they were using your photos. When you want to show like the buildings, amazing buildings.
Yeah.
Like
and it became a normal thing.
Yeah. And
which it wasn't before.
Yeah. And I remember on your website, it's like every week, you used to allow people to go and download a wallpaper of the, I think every week you used to drop a wallpaper.
Yeah, I had like a wallpaper Monday.
Yeah.
Which I did up to 300. And then I was like, I think now I can retire it. Now there's enough wallpapers around everywhere. Yeah.
But the risks that you also took, because some of the photos that you went, what's on top of KICC? Which is one of the riskiest ones you've ever taken?
In fact, I think even the riskier, there's been several incidents. Like there's one rooftop where my camera dropped.
Bro, from what floor?
The roof. So like it went down 26 floors.
I
won't say the name of the building because they might not want the negative attention. It's not their fault.
Yeah.
I was just up there. There was a gust of wind. I was in a moment where I was not paying attention. And
just a brief moment.
Yeah. It just took like 10 seconds of not paying attention. Because I'm always there. And in 10 seconds where I just was picking something from the bag, there was a gust.
Wow.
Tripod, camera, everything over.
Bro.
thankfully I got the cards. I got the cards. Down there I was able to get the cards, but kuna chokosha alikuwa ameokota. Nilihavu kumlipa 2K. That chokosh was like, I told him, nilipatia akasema, hii ukitaka 5K. Nikamwambia memory card data hiyo memory card data ni ya so 5. Akasema alikuwa mjanja, akasema it's not about the card, it's about the memories. And it was at that moment I knew I was screwed. Nikasema okay, wacha basi tu negotiate sasa. Nikaenda mempatia 2K to exchange hivi zile because they didn't trust me and I didn't trust them. It was like hold half, hold. Okay. Sha. But yeah, that's one of the times. Been arrested many times. I think I've been arrested maybe 4 times or 5 times.
Because of photography.
Just shooting on the streets. They say, oh, it's illegal. Sijui what. I don't know what they're always afraid of. But yeah, it used to be such a risky venture every time you're getting out with your camera. Unajua most likely unaweza lala ndani for no reason.
Wow.
But unajiamini tu na unaendelea.
Yeah. One of the things that as I'm talking to you, I have all these flashbacks. I have these flashbacks that are coming back as well. Is that you started doing something that was not normal in Kenya, and hopefully now more people have picked it up.
Yeah.
But then you also, through this gift that you picked up, you also had a show, an exhibition.
Yeah.
Of your photography. Was it about the skyline of Nairobi as well, or?
I've done one. The first one I did, we even had Matheka as the guest.
Yes.
That one was Kitambo. That was 13 or 14. It was just a one night only. It was supposed to be a 1-week exhibition, but then the venue that was supposed to do it at switched things, and we were determined, like we'd already moved too many things.
Yeah.
So we just had a one night showcase. Had Matheka come, was the guest that time. And I think for me, the importance of that night was not even the showing. Because the showing meant a lot, because it meant to me that I'm on the right path.
Yeah.
But I remember at that showing, I thought to myself, how cool it will be to do this, but for more African cities.
Yes.
And so it started the wheels turning towards a project that I've already started now called Unscrambling Africa, which is, in summary, it's a visual exploration and documentation of African cities and African urbanity.
Wow.
So it's me being curious about other African cities, the way I've been about Nairobi.
Yeah.
And my goal is to photograph all African capitals. I don't know when I'll finish it, but I've done one part now. I've done Southern Africa. Did a road trip a couple years back.
And is that the one? I remember you guys going down with like Subaru.
Yes. Yeah. That's when went down, did that more than 15,000 kilometers over 100 days. Photographed about 9 cities, maybe 10, maybe 11 cities in South Africa, Southern Africa. And the goal is that in every other region.
Yeah.
But yeah, and for me, that is just, again, because those are the things that I find important. Like I want my work to be documenting what African cities looked like at the time that I was alive. Because every time I see like the pictures of Mohammed Amin and the events that he captured, the not just like the city, but like the things.
Yeah.
Things like he was there when, was it Tom Mboya was assassinated? Like capturing all of that has become so much pivotal in us understanding our history.
Yeah.
And I think history of people, towns and stuff like that can be seen in the architecture, can be seen in the cities.
Yeah.
And I think the future, maybe these things, it will be a good time to look back and be like, in 2010, this is how Nairobi looked like. In 2020s, this is how Kinshasa looked like. Like for me, I want my images to be able to inform people about a certain time that existed when I was there.
Yeah.
Because I think images have so much power like that. Like I just did, on my Instagram, I just did, not a...
Wow.
Until it's passing.
We're outside, guys. Anyway,
But yeah, on my Instagram, I just did something that I've just started doing. But I did a won't call it a deep dive
Mhm.
because it's just for an Instagram video
Yeah.
of one of my favorite photographers called Malik Sidibe.
Mhm.
He is from Mali,
Mhm.
was from Mali, and a lot of his very famous pictures in Bamako were in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
And it was about the time of independence.
Mhm.
And within his pictures,
Mhm.
you can see a certain spirit of a youthful, independent Africa. Like it almost represents a youthful Africa.
Yeah.
People dancing, people in these parties outside.
Yeah.
Very swaggy, like suits in this house party, and used to go to these Christianins house parties,
Mhm.
clubs and stuff like that. And it was at that time when Mali just got independence.
Mhm.
And the thing is, you can see that celebratory mood
Yeah.
from that time.
Mhm.
You can see that the people there, it was, and after independence, people felt like anything was possible.
Yeah.
The white man is gone. Now
Yeah.
it's like
You're
celebration.
free.
We can be free. We can do, like, the future is like there's no limit to the future.
Yeah.
And so those pictures become a stamp
Mhm.
on that period
Mhm.
of time. You can't think, for someone who's seen his pictures and seen his life's work, you can't think of the 60s and 70s without thinking of Malik Sidibe.
Mhm.
And so the way his work was a stamp on that time,
Yeah.
for me, I would like my work to be a stamp on something
Mhm.
in a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are some of the most when you think about the cities that you've been able to travel to? I know Nairobi is dope.
Yeah.
But what's one of those other countries that you visited where you're like, this country was different, the architecture truly
Yeah.
represented their people?
You know, that's a tough question for a few reasons.
Yeah.
But the biggest reason being,
Mhm.
the one thing that you discover, like for me, because I was specifically going around to explore this idea
Mhm.
of African urbanity, like what it is to us, because urbanity for us, I think, looks very different from urbanity for the whites.
Mhm.
Like urbanity in Europe, urban cities, and
Mhm.
an urban African city
Mhm.
will be different, even though with some similarities.
Yeah.
But the thing is, what you find is that our cities
Mhm.
were not designed by us.
No.
Our cities were not designed with designed with us in mind.
No. How? We're not in
We're not even in the plan.
In the mind of them colonial
Yeah,
guy.
like
No.
when the Brits were building these buildings in Nairobi, they were not thinking this is for the Africans.
Mm-mm.
They're like, this is for us. This is how we're
Yeah.
going to use these buildings. And so
That's so interesting.
many times you'll find a lot of talk about how, as Africans, we don't know how to use our cities, or we misuse them, or things like that.
Mhm.
And for me, I'm like, this is hard to measure when we are inheriting
Yeah.
things that were not built with us. They're ours, but they were not built with us in mind.
Yeah.
And so we are taking things and we're using them how we want. It's the same way as how we take English and we use it how we want. So you can't now come and tell us this is the way to speak English.
Mhm.
Like you can't tell a Nigerian that pidgin English is not English.
Yeah.
They're like, that doesn't matter.
Mhm.
This language was forced on us.
Yeah.
We've taken it. We're going to use it how we want.
Yes.
So you can't tell a Nairobi guy who says, me, I think that is wrong English.
Mhm.
Because it's wrong according to who?
Yeah. This is how we talk.
Yeah, this is how we talk and we understand each other.
Yeah.
Communication, English, languages are communication. So we're going to communicate how we feel like it makes sense to
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
And so the whole idea of something being proper
Mhm.
gets lost because who decides what's proper
Mhm.
and what is not?
I like that, man.
And so for me, I've found our African cities now have very interesting characteristics because
Yeah.
they're not, the characteristics are not proper, and the characteristics are based on the people.
Mhm.
And so the people make how the city is.
Yeah.
So you find in places like Malawi,
Mhm.
which per capita is supposed to be like the poorest country in the world.
Mhm.
But for me, I find like Malawi, people are not even interested, in my observation, people are not interested in being in the cities because the cities are too expensive to live in.
Yeah.
And in the countryside is so fertile.
Mhm.
Like if I have my 1 acre behind my house
I'm
and
sorted.
I can farm,
Mhm.
I have food there.
Mhm.
The lake, almost everyone who lives in Malawi is maybe an hour, 2 hours max from the lake.
Mhm.
The lake has endless supply of fish.
Hmm.
And it's so much
Mhm.
that I was by the lake and seeing someone drop down Like someone just on the, not even more than 5 meters from the
From
shore,
the shore, yeah.
in his canoe, just dropped down his line. In less than 30 seconds, he's pulled it out.
Yeah.
Fish. So that person just needs to commit an hour of his day
And
or
yes.
30 minutes every day to feed his family.
Mhm.
Or if he's tired of fish, to take that fish and go
To the
trade it with
market.
someone who has chicken
Yeah.
and is eating. So for that person who has that,
Mhm.
and then they can chill all day,
Mhm.
like their day is only their farm,
Mhm.
the lake,
Mhm.
and they relax.
Yeah.
Telling me that that person is poorer than me, who has to work 8 hours a day in an office, is a bit weird.
Hey, you've gone all philosophical, man. I like it.
It's a bit weird. So like I was thinking about these things. This is a person I saw with a hat, like a mud hat,
Mhm.
but with lake. It's like, what do you say when it's beachside? Lakeside.
Lakeside view.
Yeah.
He has a lake.
Like he
the
opens
view of the
his
lake.
door, looks at the lake.
Hey.
So I said, how can I call this person poorer than me? And he wakes up to the view of the lake every day.
When you wake up to your neighbor's windows.
You wake up to your neighbor's windows.
Mangoes iko hapo.
Eh. So this thing became
Wow.
like, it got me thinking a lot while we were on
Yeah.
this trip. Like on my mind was just always racing about this idea of what wealth is, what being prosperous as a country is. Like all these things were just always going through my head, and I was like, honestly, just because something is different from yours, you have no right to say that this is not a proper way to do it because it's not the way I will do it.
You know, and even as you say that, you just got me thinking, like when I'm very careful now when people come and they talk to us about the faith, but from like, let's say from a Western perspective.
Yes.
Because I'm like, we've also grown to the place where we own our faith.
Yeah.
And so even for me, when I leave this country and I go to another country, assuming like now I go to Uganda,
Yeah.
I cannot go and start telling them my way is better than your way, because they have their own way of being able to express who God is to them.
Yeah.
In a manner that I will never be able to express it to them.
Yeah.
You get?
Yeah.
And so I cannot go and start looking down on their ways or their way, how they share the gospel and things like that. Because just because what I do in my country is successful here, does not mean it's going to translate the same in another culture.
Exactly.
There might be some things that will work.
Yes.
But then I cannot look down on what it is that they have.
Yeah.
Because that's their thing.
That's true.
Yeah.
And even while fundamentals remain same, again, context and nuance is everything.
It's everything.
And because that changes everywhere you go.
Yeah.
Like people will have this way that they believe the gospel has to be shared, but that's based on their culture and how they are as a people.
Yeah.
And in another place, that will be a totally different thing.
Yeah.
And so, the world, the more often you leave your place of comfort where you know almost everything about, the more you realize how different things are and how little you actually know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think one of the best places in life, for me, I feel, is the place where you don't know everything.
Yeah.
And you're just open to just learn things. The minute you feel like, I think I know everything and I'm bored, just pack up your bags and go somewhere you've never been before.
Yeah.
Maybe go somewhere where you don't understand the language so that it reminds you again, you don't know everything. You learn to rely on the kindness of strangers and put yourself in a position where you're not highly thinking of yourself.
Yeah.
Where you start to think lowly of yourself again, but not in a bad way, but in a place where you're like, I need people. I think everybody needs that in life.
And I'm sure that's what your journey has taught you.
Yeah.
Because you're going to places where you're not known.
On that trip especially, where you have to figure out, how, okay, we need to figure out something for here.
Yeah.
What is happening? How do we find people? It's like, and you can't plan everything because you're like, okay.
Yeah.
Usually I do this and I do this and I do this. Then you go to a country and that doesn't work.
Yeah.
And the one person you meet maybe is the person who solves everything for you.
Yeah.
And you're like, I never thought this would have been possible.
Yeah. How have you seen, or maybe I should ask, how have you been able to express your faith through your world of whether it's architecture or photography?
Yeah.
How have you been able to express your faith?
I don't know that I know. I think it can be tough.
Yeah.
But I think for me, one thing that's always been important as much as possible is first in the way that you act. So in the way, character, as much as possible, that like being grounded in that, finding a way to not do the things that people expect you to be doing. And so even if, because I know I'm not the kind of person who goes and will be saying that this is my faith, it's not the stuff that I shout about.
No, that's not you.
That's not me. However, I do try and make sure that where I can, like the way that I behave, the way I try to run my business, the way I try to, because there's so much that is not in the habits that we have, whether it's in the bribing here, the taking of this, the way that you relate with people, talk to people. I think there can be so many opportunities to kind of chip away at your character, just things that get you out of pocket, out of character, things like that. And it can be hard because when you're in places where this is the norm, but then you kind of know that that's not you and that's not how you feel like you want to be. So for me, that's the most, that's the thing that I move in every day. But at the same time, I do acknowledge that, especially with my work, the one thing that I'm so happy with, I think with photography a lot more than anything, and especially photography and traveling, like I've seen such beautiful places that it will be impossible for me to not believe in the might of a creator. It's like if you don't believe it, that's fine. But I just know, even in my worst, even when, I lose my trust in God, like I don't lose the awe of his existence because I've seen too much that makes too much sense. Like the math so hard, I cannot go against it. And so in that way, there's always like a small leash on me, even in the worst that I've been. Like there's always a leash.
I like that expression, man.
That is always there. And that knowledge has had me not go all the way to the deep end. In the even in my darkest of times and my worst of times.
It's like when you're walking with the kid. So you know how when your kids are small. So I remember one time, so my daughter Zara, like Zara was a handful, bana. Like, if you want to start to a mall, I once almost lost her in an airport, bana.
She'll just go.
As in, I put her in a play area. And I was like, Zara, do not move from here. If you want to come out from this space, talk to me first. So she goes into the play area, goes under these tunnels, and there's a lady at the point of entrance, and it's the same entrance and exit. So every kid that goes in, they're signed on. Sindio, and you have to sign out your kid. So Zara goes into the tunnels. I'm like, I can't see Zara, so let me go around. So in a place where I can be able to see her. Now she's there, she's small. She used to be called Dot. Bro.
She's just chilling there.
Dude, as I'm going around, Zara has come out.
This other side now.
This other side, And so I'm looking for her for like 5 minutes. I'm trying to, like to peek through and see where she's at. I couldn't see her. Bro, I start panicking. I go to the lady at the entrance, like, have you seen my daughter? Her name is Zara. She's like, no, she hasn't come out. But
you can see her.
Start looking for her inside that space. We can't find her.
Damn.
The saving grace was Zara knew that her flight was to Nairobi. So when she was found by these flight attendants and they were like, okay, are you lost? You're like, yeah, I'm lost. I'm looking for my parents.
But she'd left the pen.
She had come out, bro.
Through that same
the same lady.
But she was not seen.
She didn't see her. So that's what saved her, because now the lady picked her up, brought her to the gate, and then Zara saw the mom now. First, I felt like yani such a useless dad
First
at
of
that
all,
point.
that
Yeah.
you'll beat yourself up for I don't even know how long.
Yeah, man. And so the only way we say thinking maybe the only way we can contain this girl maybe is to buy that leash.
Yeah.
This is the attachment to your story now. We buy a leash.
Like whenever you get, I just know that's now
It's
too
okay,
much.
Zara. Just go walk. You know, like how dogs have that leash.
Yeah.
Like kuna place rafika unamnyongea.
Unakafinya inarudi anasikia ka pressure kanamvuta back.
Haizi enda beyond that
Honestly,
point.
there are times that by the way when the kids there's a stage they're in where you think like I need to get this leash.
Yeah.
Like you understand those white people with those leashes.
Yes. And bro, that's some like so when you're sharing about that, about your experience with God, and I'm thinking, man, you know, actually that's so true because sometimes you feel like you have so many opportunities to walk away from the faith. But then this is where you get to realize that this is sometimes not really about you because it's like his goodness holds you from going over the edge.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You can jump. But it's like you start
still,
jumping alafu mazina fika mahali una dango.
Unasema unashanga kwani kumeendaje?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that thing it helps when you see that for yourself.
Yeah.
In a way that nobody really tells you about because I think with faith, at the end of the day, it will be what faith means to you, not your parents, not your passee.
It needs to be
not
personal.
Your friends. Like it has to be, and I think just what we were talking about earlier, like in school and all that, like it was easier because we're all there.
Yeah, you have a community,
and the community is strong, and I think community is good, and sometimes it could also be like because when you move from it could also be community can also be your crutch.
Yeah.
And this, I don't know if this is controversial. I don't think it is, but I think when you rely on it so much space. On just that, the minute that you're out of that safe space, suddenly you're in a very different field.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoo, don't know that crutch is no longer there.
Yeah.
Now you have to exercise a different muscle in a different way than you've done before, where you have to be strong for yourself.
Yes.
And then now you have to rely on that faith. And you know the thing, that's when I think you discover faith is not easy. Faith is not faith because it's easy. Faith is not faith because just because it makes sense. It's not always, as much as I said the math earlier, like sometimes it's not always 1 + 1 is 2.
No.
Like you'll see that this 1 + 1 needs to be 3.
Yeah.
Or the answer is saying 3 and you're like, I don't know how this answer is saying 3, but let me just flow with it. So sometimes that faith is something that you work for, that you have to prove the thing.
Yeah.
You have to sit on that seat even if you see it only has 3 legs. And trust that it will hold you.
Yes.
Because then what is faith without being able to just have the action part of it?
Yeah.
So that can be, I think, the tough thing. It's not impossible, but, and the community is still necessary, even within that.
Yeah.
But I think what now I'm coming back to, because now, I mean, this will be a whole other podcast, but because I lost my mom a couple of years ago, it drove me to one of the darkest places in my life.
Yeah.
Drove me away from like that trust that I had in God. I don't think I lost the faith, but I just think I lost the trust that God is good, or lost the trust in what, like, okay, it might be good, but I don't know if this goodness of his is working for me.
This is where the math is not.
Yeah, it's not making sense. Like maybe he says this is good, but I don't know. This guy maybe has a different idea of good than what I have.
Yeah.
But anyway, coming from that and still now being on the path where it's kind of walking, kind of finding, groping from that darkest place back into the light. And then, of course, now faith ends up looking a lot different than what was there before.
Yeah.
Because then now it's been tested.
Yeah.
And I think the most relatable thing for me in the depths of that grief was C.S. Lewis saying what did he say? He said, it was like, maybe all this time, my faith has been a house of cards that is just built on nothing and has been so easy to blow away because I don't feel like I have it now. And a few chapters later, towards the end, he was like, I guess if ever my faith is a pack of cards, I will hope that it's into situations where it's blown away so that I get a chance to build it up again and again on the right stuff. I was like, I'd rather not exist with a life where my faith is this pack of cards.
Yeah.
And however hard that is, like sometimes I think about it because it's also that story of the building of the one who built on sand, the one who built on the foundation. And I know all the time we ridicule, yes, the guy who built on sand and fair.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, if I've built on sand, I'd rather it rains and there's a storm and have the house washed away so that I realize that it's been sand all this time and start building on rock.
Wow.
Than exist my whole life with this house built of sand, thinking that I have a mansion, and then at the end, it just collapses. And however tough that is. So I was like, okay, I think now I'm starting to be in the place where maybe it was like fake faith. But I'm glad that it has been revealed and exposed to me that, that the faith could not have survived heavy loss. And now I can work on building it up again.
Yeah. And the thing is, first, let me say, that's so deep what you've said. So deep in so many ways. That first I feel it's like I asked you an unfair question. But I'm glad I asked it at the same time because like you've given this different perspective of faith. When I said the unfair question was, what's your expression of faith where you are?
Yeah.
But Moots, I feel whatever you do is your expression of faith where you are.
Yeah.
So I feel it's like such an unfair question. It's like, I expect you to answer in this box. This is how I've been able to experience God in this box. And so, it's ticking all the need. But faith is best expressed through our journey of life. Through the good, through the bad, through the ugly.
Yeah.
And because I don't think there's any point where God stops being God in our life. Just because you're good does not mean he's a very good God to you at that point than when you're evil. Because, and I know you were asking that question, but, God is not good with moods and moments.
Yeah.
Like God is good.
Yeah. Period.
We're the ones who have those moods and moments, through the seasons of life. And so, and God is not, I know that this might sound controversial, but also I'm understanding God even now more. So I'm going, I've been posting about the book of Psalms.
Yeah.
Psalm 139. And so David says, where can I flee from your presence? Where can I flee from your spirit? Even if I was to build my bed in hell.
You'll be there.
Even there, your spirit will find me, man.
Yeah.
That's like the darkest of places.
Yeah.
So that's a point of life where we get to, for all of us.
Yeah, and everybody gets there somehow.
Somehow.
Yeah.
But God does not stop being good because you're in the darkest of points in your life. And so sometimes I say we need to allow people to be able to see God's grace in our life, where even in our darkest moments, people can see God bringing us out of that to a place where we're able to be like, man, I would not be where I'm at today if it was not for the hand of God that brought me through that.
Yeah.
Bro, many challenge, man. Dude.
Let me tell you, Kwanza, and then, like on the, even that third service when there was the communion, because I didn't take it.
It's okay.
I didn't take it. But then when you were, and of course in my head it was just like, I don't think I'm ready to
take
this. And then do you know what you said? Do you remember what you said when you were up there? Because you were like, I think you said if I hope everyone has taken, and you said even if you feel, if especially you feel like you don't deserve to take this, you're the person who actually needs this the most.
You're the best candidate.
Yeah, your best candidate to take this.
Yeah.
That really touched me. I still didn't take it.
It's okay.
But I was like, I've not had like this. I don't think I don't think I'd ever had that. Because I think probably the reason in my head that I didn't take it is that thing. I think it's been hammered a lot in the past that be okay, like be in a proper place.
Yeah.
Before you take this. And I was like, hey, I don't staki ikue. I don't know. It's like something else. Of course, I've not probably, but also at the same time, I've not really studied and understood like just beyond the surface of the whole relevance of communion and that beyond this is my body, this is my blood. But I always feel like there's always, probably if I understood it more for myself, like at a deeper level, a level of sacrifice and things like that, and what that pertains to me, maybe. Because I think a lot of the tough things with faith is that it will always exist in context. And the context this time is usually either people around you, how you grew up, the church environment that introduced you or was in your formative years talking about Christ to you. And many times a lot of this is wrong, can be wrong in terms of the messaging. And it can be messaging that is sometimes can be damaging in the way that we understand the faith, especially as young people. The idea of immediate consequences, the idea of grace not being, especially in Kenyan culture, the idea of grace is not emphasized because we are not a graceful culture.
No. Especially amongst Christians.
Yeah,
we don't extend grace very well.
Yeah. And so all that can really affect how you view faith and more importantly, how you view God.
Yeah.
And this has been, I don't even know why I started this train of thought, where it was going. But anyway, this, like in the past few years, has really been in my head, just being like, not only who God is, but who God is to me in this place that I am. What does this mean is, where God is? How do I still call myself a Christian, even though I've not been going to church?
Yeah.
Do I, like, you know what I mean? Like, these things start to look so different.
Yeah.
And one of the things I was dreading even coming here was that we'll talk about things of faith, and I'm like, I don't feel like I'm in the faith like I should be. Because, of course, even in me, I'll compare it to the days when I felt like I was strongest in the faith. You know what I mean? Because we always consider the strength in faith not by the weak points.
Yes.
But for where we're flexing.
Yes.
Where the tongues were most ununderstandable. Where the tongues were, the most complex, where the faith was strong, like where you pray and you feel like this is imeenda straight. Not when you feel like unagonga tu ukuta. Ama there's
now the prayer is going like this.
Ama the prayer doesn't even seem like what you understood prayer to be. It's just, or you don't feel like even, Anyway, I don't know what I was saying with this, but
I want to pick up something though. You reminded me about something I wanted to say.
Just before, could I get a tissue, please?
Yeah. So there's as you're speaking earlier,
Yeah.
I was like, now you're in a different space where you're experiencing a new kind of faith from where you were before. And I'm like, I think that's such a cool place to be at. It's scary though, but I think at the same time, it's really good because you have you're getting to a new understanding of who God is. Because can we truly ever comprehend how great God is unless we go through these seasons?
Yeah.
And I'm so glad you came for the podcast as well, because the aim of this podcast is not to Bible bash people. It's just to have conversations. In fact, we've had such deep conversations, man. I'm like, this is so good. This is so good. So God is never tired of revealing himself to us. And I remember a song by Cross Movement. Do you remember a song by Cross Movement?
Do you know, Kwanza, now I've been on a resurgence, Cross Movement. I've been listening a lot the past like 2 months.
Yeah. Oh, man. Those guys, God used them to build up my faith.
Yeah.
More than any pastor, man.
Yeah.
In fact, music has had a bigger impact in my life.
Yeah.
So they had a song called I Am from their album House of Reps.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that
I am that I am.
Yes.
That I am. Yeah.
It's one of the things, I think it's Tonic who says this in his rhymes. He says that, God breaks himself down into bite-sized pieces.
Yeah. Yes.
So he won't give you like a big chunk.
Because where's he handle?
Yeah. Atakupatia bite-sized pieces. That it's like him revealing himself to us every day in a piece by piece by piece, so that you get to yearn for him more.
Yeah.
Unacheki. And I don't think he's ever threatened when we ask him why, or when we ask him questions, God, are you really good? Sometimes we feel it's evil to ask him that question, or it's not right. It's like you're disrespecting him. But I think he invites us to have those conversations with him. Because if you unless you ask him that question, how will you get to hear from him, or how will he get to show you his side of goodness? Be like, remember when you went through this?
Yeah. And when you thought you were just alone over there.
Yeah. I was right there with you, man.
Yeah.
I was right there with you through it all. But anyway, Muts, I want to say thank you so much for joining me for the podcast today, Bana. And what I celebrate you is your one, from that, it was a step of obedience that you took, actually. You decided to go against the norm and just to follow this thing that you're passionate about.
Yeah.
That has opened doors for you, that those doors would probably never have opened.
Probably.
Should you have stuck on the linear.
That is true.
You get.
I think about that a lot. I'm always like, would I? And I'm like, I don't see where.
Never.
How architecture would have done that to me. Even though I believe fully that either way, at the end of the day, I always believe that where I think God needed you to be, you'll find yourself there somehow. Even though I try to not think too much about what will it have been. Because if I'm not on that path, thinking about it like it won't help me in any way. Maybe that will have worked, maybe it wouldn't have.
Yeah.
All I know is that where I am, I'm convinced is where I'm supposed to be.
The things that you've done
Yeah.
have been absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
What's the deal with Beyonce?
With Beyonce
and like on your journey in terms of photography, have you been able to have any interactions?
No, we haven't. Though, there was a time that she did this market something. The time of Black is King.
Yes.
But she was highlighting like different Black businesses around the world.
Yes.
And I was one of the ones that would put on that website for art and stuff like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So she never hollered at you, man. Be like, yo, Moots, I really like your job, man.
No, listen, I don't even know what I would have said on that phone because it would have been so confusing.
Like, stop pranking me, man.
Like, stop it.
Yeah.
I know this cannot be you.
But I do remember your work being highlighted.
Yeah. So, I can't even remember when that was. But it was highlighted. Honestly, the thing is, it was highlighted, and I try very much. I've always had this attitude to not believe my own hype.
Yeah.
Just because I don't want to. feel comfortable or because there's always something that I feel like I want to achieve with my work.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to celebrate too much of other things that seem to be, they're not there. Like for me, I'll be able to celebrate maybe when I'm 90 and I'm still here. If we are still here, if I'm 90 and I can look back and be like, okay, now we can celebrate because I think the work has done a lot of what it was supposed to do. But for now, I think the job is just to keep going.
Yeah. And even for Beyonce at that time when she was highlighting, let me say first, I don't think we get to appreciate why some of these people do those campaigns.
Yeah.
It's because sometimes I think as Black people, we often look down on ourselves.
Yeah.
And we completely undervalue who we are. And we feel it's like we're always second-class citizens.
Yeah.
And sometimes those campaigns come and they seem to be like, yeah, these guys are just trying to prop us up, to make us feel.
Yeah.
But I feel there's a bigger picture behind it. And so for your work to be highlighted on something like that, Moods, it's good that people are recognizing what you're doing.
Yeah. Yes.
I have no doubt that when people are talking about architecture in Africa in the next 50 or so years, that your work will be there as one who's contributed a lot to it. Because when people need a point of reference, they will be showcasing, man.
Yeah.
And saying, like
the pictures will be speaking.
Yeah, the pictures will be speaking, man.
Yeah.
In fact, in our office, we have some of you.
I hope I'm kuiba.
When we had Kubamba Radio. Do you remember?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh yeah.
You gave us some of your art.
It was when it was at the, what's that place called?
Dekio Plaza.
Guy, that's even far back.
This is
far
like
further than I thought. This was
2017. No, you did. What? No, you gave us that artwork a long time ago, man.
It must be before.
When we were in Woodley.
Yeah, must be before because. Yeah, it must be way before. Which I can't even remember when that is.
Bro, you framed it.
Yeah.
So I think there's someone who wrote on it. You're like, oh man, this one has a stain.
Wow, hii ni kitambo. I can't even remember.
So we have two of your artworks in the office, man.
That's nice.
So So I'm just saying that guys will be looking back at that work and showing, man, this is Mutua's contribution to, in the world of architecture, man. But bro, I'm so grateful, man. I'm so grateful for this time. And I do celebrate you, man. I celebrate you and Oni.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
man. Yeah. Again, seeing you guys on Sunday at Nairobi Street Kitchen for the third service was, and for me, it gave me so much
That
joy.
was such a good time.
Oh, man. I can't even, like, you were one of the best surprises for me that night.
Very unexpected.
Yeah.
I was like, I cannot wait for the next one. I think just as a gathering, like I'd come just for the gathering, even not for the music.
Yeah. It was so good to see you there. And again, in my role in music, I've got to say also thank you so much for the contribution that you and 501 made. Because if you guys did not step out on that journey, you are the guys who God also used in my life to hold on to my faith, but then also to contribute to the urban gospel music. So thank you, man.
Just making discoveries.
Yeah, dude. Asante sana, because what you guys did was very significant, man.
Yeah.
For the youngins some of the Gen Zs who came for that gig, if you play songs like Oh, they'll be like, eh?
Yeah, I'm sure they would be like, who are these?
Hatashindwa man, inaendelea hapa hivi bana, but which music is this?
Yeah.
Are those new artists?
Yeah, by the way, that's what, that's what happens nowadays. Like new music comes. The way I've been seeing these things happening where there's a lot of this sampling of older songs, which are not old to us, but there's a new version. And I really do not like it when I'm listening like on the radio and then I hear this song and then it's the new version.
Yes.
I'm like, they've remixed this one also.
Yeah.
And then they're calling that the new one. I mean, calling that the original. And then they're looking at it. They're like, how did Missy sampled this? Like, excuse me.
Yes.
First of all, let's not be disrespectful.
Give credit.
Give credit. This is not sample, like the old artist didn't sample the new one.
Yeah.
It's so wild.
They make it look like it's the other way around. Yeah.
Because they've met the new artist first.
Yes.
And then they discover there's something else. But then, you know, we always just, the thing we know is the one that we put forefront.
Yes.
So you always are like, oh, even this old artist has sampled this new one. It's like, first make it make sense.
I'm going to tell you something that happened at this third service now. That's very relevant to what you're saying.
Yeah.
So Kroba is DJing.
Yeah.
And of course now Kroba will play a song for an artist and the artist is there. Then the artist jumps on stage.
Yeah.
So Giuliani goes on stage.
Yeah.
And then there's this Gen Zs who are there. They're like, oh man, who is this artist? Man, is he a new artist? Or they're like, oh, this is Giuliani. So they have they've never seen Giuliani. No, they've never seen performing.
So a lot of them actually have been exposed now to some music.
Yes. Then Tony, MOG goes on. My call is playing.
Yeah.
So some of the Gen Zers are like, man, this is such a cool new artist, man.
Wait, most of them thought that this was new music.
Because my call, walisikia my call wapi.
Damn, you know me, I was seeing some of them vibing. I thought like some of it's music that they've had before, at least had once or twice.
Bro, some of them just went with the hype.
Just like, oh, this music sounds good. Oh my gosh, come on, there's so many new artists. Ukiwambia ni ngoma za 15 years ago. Unasema what?
When you think about my call, it's actually about 15 years old. Yeah. But
it's so banging still.
Oh, still, man. Still, absolutely, bana. And
that's the only sad thing is how, like, I think there's such a huge gap. That's what I've felt.
Yeah.
Because I feel like even while there, I'm like, a lot of the older artists are still doing even new songs. Like Kina Matheka are still doing new songs. Kambua is still doing new music.
Yeah.
But there are no new artists.
Yeah, and the artists who are there who are coming up, it's like kuna gap. Like you're saying, kama bado wasoja connect now, it's like we're still stuck somehow in the wave of of old school jams.
Yeah.
But hopefully, like I was really happy. You need to listen to Manolo's new album.
Okay.
Do you remember Manolo from Rika?
Yes, I do.
Oh man, his album Karibu is actually, you will like it.
Okay. I'm going to listen to it on the way home.
Yeah. It's a dope album, man. I think you'll actually enjoy listening to it, man, because Manolo is very versatile.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm like, there's a space now for artists like Manolo to come up. And, you know, my encouragement to Akina Manolo, I'm telling them, man, do not think of yourself now from a local perspective only. Start looking at yourself as an artist from a global perspective.
Yeah.
If Akina Burna Boy can do it, why can't you do it?
And now the world is so much smaller than it was.
Yeah.
You know, the weird thing is, I think this is both the best time and the worst time for any new artist, not just in music. Photography, it's the best of times, but also the worst of times.
Mm-hmm. This
best
is good
of
coming
times,
from you,
best of times because the tools, the barrier to entry is non-existent.
Yeah.
Now.
That's so good.
Mm-hmm. What it took us to do art in 2010, in terms of equipment, things like, can you imagine what it was like to record even music when we were in university?
Yeah, that was hard.
Even us being able to record that album that we did in JQuat in Hall 6 was, for most people, like a miracle. We were like, things have broken down.
Yeah.
But so can you imagine now, which is 20 years later, it's even easier to do that without, like, somebody can do any decent stuff without spending more than $1,000 now.
Mm-hmm.
So the barriers to entry are almost not existent.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, because the barriers to entry are non-existent, it's also the worst of times because there's a oversaturation.
Yeah.
And for anything good to kind of float to the surface, takes so much work. And so many people are giving up because you start now and you're like, in half a year or in 1 year, if I've not been recognized,
there's no need of being in this
like
thing.
But then, because the barrier to entry is little, for me, my thing that I say, because I say to any photographer who wants to start now, is always create so often that you get used not to the applause, but you get used to the work, to the doing of the work.
Yeah.
Like if you're a photographer, shoot something daily, something worthwhile. I'm not saying shoot like randomly, just snapshots.
Yeah.
Shoot daily. When I was starting, I was carrying my camera everywhere to work. And I was doing this daily shoot exercise where you go on this website, there's a theme for the day, and I have 24 hours from when they announce to find something and shoot. So it's like, and you don't know what the theme will be. There might be something blue, or it might be express sadness in a picture. So some will be deep, others will be light. But there's 24 hours to shoot, edit, put online.
Yeah.
And then share. And you're not sharing so that, you're not sharing for people necessarily to see, but you're sharing because of that community. There was like a daily shoot community.
Yeah.
People who just do daily shoot. So people will just go because all those pictures will populate on Flickr. And you just go there and you're like, it's very interesting how this person interpreted this assignment today. I will not have seen it this way.
Wow.
And for me, I would go every day and I look and I'm like, for me, the winner today is this guy.
Yeah.
But also, I will not just put it on Flickr. Like I will put my photo of the day on my website, my WordPress site back then. So I would post in every day. Every day I would put a picture of the day.
Yeah.
The theme was this. These are the pictures I shot. The one that I chose to upload, the main, is this one.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? And then people are like, okay, you interpreted that well. I would have not interpreted it that way, blah, blah, blah. But I just got used to doing that every day. I like what Toby Nwigwe did when he was on the come up.
Oh, yeah.
Because Toby did this thing where he said, hey, I'm going to put a project up every week.
Yes.
For, I think his goal was 10 years. And he said, if after 10 years I've not blown up, I'll just quit music and focus on something else. It didn't take him 2 years.
Yeah. But he was very consistent.
But he was every week. And every week he was writing a song.
Yeah.
Recording the song.
Yeah.
And shooting a music video.
Yes.
And it's him doing everything. He's editing the music video. And that music video has some choreography in it.
Yeah.
They're doing the dancing and whatnot. And every Sunday,
he drops something.
Drops the song with the video. I don't think it took 2 years. In 2 years, before 2 years were over, he was being invited to the Grammys.
Yes.
He was collabing with Pharrell.
The other day, so he's collaborated with Justin Timberlake at his gig. Yeah. He was invited to be a part of. Yeah.
And this is not even 5 years since he started.
Yeah.
So there's something very powerful about when you say, I won't look at what comes to me. I'll just, like, I saw Nwigwe's system and I was like, if I was starting now, that's one of the things I'd do.
Yeah.
I'd do something that not everybody's doing now. I'd say weekly, I'm going to drop something.
Yeah.
It takes work. And when you commit to doing it weekly, there will be so many forces that will try and make you not do it weekly.
Tell me about it. Yeah.
And most of those forces will be you.
Yeah.
Like there will be laziness. There you'll say, oh, work. And they will make sense.
Yeah.
It will be like, honestly, it makes sense. Who is expected to be able to achieve this weekly?
Yeah.
But that's the commitment you do to achieve the thing.
Yeah.
That many other people won't achieve. Like you have to do more than others will be willing to do, especially in the beginning.
Wow.
Especially in the beginning. If everybody is just doing one song every few months and then just doing like a Instagram video to promote it, then go 10 times further than they do.
Wow. Yeah.
And then go 10 times further than they do and do it every week for a year.
You'll only get better.
Tell me people don't notice that.
And then you keep getting better.
And you keep getting, because there's no way you can be the same, even 10 times in a row.
No.
By the time you've done it 5 times, you're like, actually, now let's just change this. Oh, now let's just add a smoke machine. Okay, now let's just, then by the 10th time, you're already like, let's just add some movement. Let's buy this gimbal so that now we can do this easier.
Yeah.
It will get easier for you in even 20 times.
Yeah.
Where the people find you 50 times later, which is just a year.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That's such solid advice, man. Such solid advice, Bana.
I feel like that's there because I don't know what else. Now it's so saturated, I don't know what else will work.
Yes.
I don't know how else I'd get noticed at these times. Because again, it's the best of times, but also it's the worst of times.
Yeah, yeah. And like you're saying, content is coming in.
Yeah.
Every day. Kwanza siku hizi, Back in the day, you could drop a single and you stay for a year.
Yeah.
You dish on that one single.
Yeah.
Now, man.
No, that's not enough.
Yeah.
And that means can you imagine if you're a songwriter and you're just sitting, you're writing. You're not focusing on performing even.
Yeah.
You're just working to write. Like all you're doing is just writing music and recording music.
Yeah.
Tell me you're not going to get so good at that where it took people 5 years, you can get to in a year.
Yeah.
Just because you're working.
Yeah. And people sometimes have the habit of saying, man, look at Adele. She only drops her album once every 5 years.
Yeah.
Adele is Adele.
Adele is Adele.
Adele is Adele.
And you don't even know why Adele is only dropping once every 5 years. No, the thing is, there's what you're seeing in the public. But there's always what you're seeing in the public face.
Yeah, but
you don't know anything about the back.
Behind the scenes?
You don't know anything. Some of these people, the machinery that's behind them.
Yeah.
You have to work like 50 times harder.
Yeah.
For just 10% of that recognition.
Yeah.
If especially you're alone.
Yep. And if you watch someone like Adele, or even Beyonce, if we were to use some of those guys that people know, I mean, by the time they're dropping one album after 5 years, her first album is very different from her second album. You can see the maturity. You can see the growth. The production is doper.
Yeah.
Like
everything has grown so much.
Yeah.
To a place that you didn't even think it can grow to, but it's even there.
Yeah.
And if even Adele, who's already like her voice is already fantastic, can grow.
How much more?
Like, who are you?
Who are you?
If Adele practices so that she can even grow and get better with her vocals.
Yeah.
Like, who are you? If Beyonce has to work so hard.
Yeah.
And she's already like everything is accessible to her.
Yeah.
But she still wakes up.
Yeah.
And will practice 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
So how much more?
Yes.
Are you who's here, not yet noticed? Like you should not even be sleeping. Sleeping for what?
Yeah, Bana. You don't have time for that.
There's no time.
I remember watching her concert in Coachella, which now people ended up labeling Beychella.
Yeah.
I mean,
she was the behind the scenes of that.
She was pregnant before that. She had just given birth, I think.
Yeah.
And then she had not been in it for a while.
Yeah.
So she decided she's going to dedicate time. And she said, this one,
like what I'm doing. And she was even like, I'm not going to do this again ever.
Yes.
Because this is the most intense I've ever done.
3 months. Teasy daily.
Yeah.
Teasy daily.
So I'm always like, listen, if the thing to take away is that if these people can work this hard.
Yeah. How much more?
How much more
yeah.
are you? And kwanza, especially to me, especially if you're a believer, I think your work ethic should even be
higher,
more ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because it's like, what are we saying?
Yeah.
Like, what are you saying? Like, if you can't put in that work, you don't believe in the thing that you're doing.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? Can you stop this? God is not going to come and just put whatever, put
pour them on your lap, just like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not going to have fireworks.
Mm-hmm.
The fireworks are created by what you're doing. And not God just coming and throwing the fireworks there.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, be diligent in the faith, but at the same time, you have to be equally diligent
in your trade.
In the trade itself.
Yes.
Because if not, then what's the point?
Yeah.
Honestly, what's the point? Like, I think I've always said for me with my work, I feel like being good at what I do.
Yeah.
Working hard to be good at what I do is the least I can do with the gift.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's not me doing the most.
Mm-hmm.
That's me literally doing the least I can with the gift. Like, there's no other way, I think, to be grateful for the gift than to just be good, be the best at it in every way.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm lazy there, what am I saying?
Yeah.
Because the only thing, like, it's a gift, yes, but then everything else beyond that is on me.
You have to work it.
Everything else, I have to work at it. Like, I have to work at it. I have to maintain it, keep myself sharp, do all that I need to do to stay not in competition with anyone else, but with myself. With myself yesterday. Like, I have to be better than I was last year. I have to do things in a better way. I have to use my art to open you up to, like, I want you to see my art. Like, what the art does is not my control.
Yeah.
But what I do,
That's in yours.
that's in my control. Like there is not on God. God ashanipea. I can't say, oh, God hakunipatia diligence ya kuamka every day. That's on me.
That's on you. Ashakupatia uhai.
Yeah, ashanipatia uhai.
Yeah. Oh,
Amenipatia the situation, amesema sasa uko hapo.
Yeah.
Umeweza kuafford
So
gear.
good. Mhm.
The only thing I can do ni mimi nifanye tu niamke na ni put in work.
This is so
But yeah.
good. Dude, as I'm just listening to you, man, and I'm like, Steve, we're going to do devotions, man. Tomorrow. like you're talking, man, I'm just like, these things are coming, man. You know, it's like you're bringing things out of me, Bana. So this has been so enriching for me, bro.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
For me,
You've come
to these conversations every time.
I'll call you Pastor Mutua after this.
Wait.
And your credibility, would you go up or would you go down?
I don't know. This is the question. Hey.
So tell me, hey, Moses, no, since you called me that, my gigs have gone down.
Yeah, I know. Watu mazee waniiti anymore. Inabidi sasa nitafute, wewe ndio utanitafutia mboga sasa.
Man, but thank you so much, man. This has been so enriching, man. So insightful.
Oh, thanks
in
for
so
having
many
me.
ways. So many layers, man.
I love the conversation. Usually, sometimes lazima ukuwe na mtu anakuuliza vitu zingine kama hizi ndio zitoke. When you are alone, you don't know what's in you.
Yeah. Hey.
Until you get a chance to, break bread and just talk on it.
In fact, honestly, if it's not for Kate, pale Mazena and the show, we need to wind up. I'm like...
Kate wendi unasema.
Yeah, yendi, ako pale mo behind the scenes.
Okay.
What time is it even?
It's 4.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
We have been at this for a while. But thank you so much, Moods.
Yeah.
I deeply appreciate it. And of course, guys, if you wanna see what Mutua Matheka is doing, please check out his social media handles. What's the handle?
Truth Slinger.
Yes.
On Instagram. And mutuamatheka.com. That's
still
my
there?
website.
Yeah. Dude.
Mutua Matheka. To me, honestly, not even forget the Instagram, go to the website.
There you go.
That's the bigger, for me, that's the bigger platform.
Are you still giving us downloads for Ninis?
No, I stopped. Now I think there's enough. You can get wallpaper from anywhere.
Hey, bro. But the funny thing is, if you
Google... free sasa zimeisha. I mean, they're still online.
If you Google...
But up to 300.
If you Google image 300 Nini.
Like I did 300 downloads. 300 weeks of Wallpaper Monday. Yeah. Which is more
that's
than...
a lot.
I think 5 years.
Yeah. If you want to Google and, like Nairobi, skyline of Nairobi, you'll definitely get Mutua's content out there, man. Yeah. But thank you so much for being my guest today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. That was nice.
Easy conversations, bana.
Imekuwa poa. Sometimes it takes being on this too. Unajua some conversations sa zile mmekaa zinaweza kosa kutoka.
Yeah. But this is so enriching, man. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah.
And of course, guys, thank you for joining us for the podcast today. It's been really good. I've been hanging out with Mutua Matheka. Do go ahead and drop us some comments. What have you picked up from the conversations? Go ahead and share the show with your friends, your loved ones, also your enemies. It's great to love your enemies by sharing good content to them. Sindio? Yeah, shopio no ajali yao sio. But thank you so much for your great company. Moods, thank you so much for being my guest for today. This has been good. A big shout out to Waine for the coffee. What do you think of his coffee?
Oh, the coffee has been fantastic.
Waine, asante sana, bro.
I love it. Sijata, I should take a bag home.
You should.
Yeah.
You should, Bana. You should, man. And guys, we love you. Do remember, man, go ahead and support us on the podcast. If you can go ahead and buy our merchandise as well, it means a lot to us. May God be with you. May God bless you. Have a fantastic day, week, month, year. God bless.